Hello, welcome to this KinesicMouse live tutorial video. In this video I'm going to explain mouse modes. As you might already know, in the KinesicMouse we have available 3 different mouse modes to control the mouse cursor. They all are a little bit different in their settings and their adjustments. So let's get right into it. So our first mouse mode is called Absolute Mode. You activate the mouse modes by clicking on these buttons on the left side on the main window. So as you can see, we have now activated the mouse mode, and I'm going to show you how that feels like. So if I now hit resume, the mouse cursor is bound already to my head rotation. I now have the feeling that the mouse cursor is off and I don't really get good control over the center position. So let's pause the KinesicMouse again, and in the absolute mode you need to center your head position. So the KinesicMouse needs to know where your neutral head position is located at. To see this in effect, let's open the signals monitor, and as you can see I already have the head rotation displayed here in the signal graph. And for the absolute mode you need to adjust the center. You can do that by clicking on Recenter either here in the signal monitor or in the main window you have the same function. So let's open the signal monitor again and see what it looks like when we recenter our head position. So after a 3 seconds timeout, your head position is captured in the KinesicMouse and the head rotation is set to 0. So for the absolute mode, the mouse cursor will be in the center position of your screen when all of the head rotation signals are zeroed out. So let's again have a look how that looks like when I resume the mouse cursor now. You can see it's now where I want it to be, and if I center my head, also the mouse cursor is in the center of the screen. Perfect. But what else can we adjust in the absolute mode? Let's open the signals again. And you see here that the upper signal range sliders are important for adjustment. So if I want to have the mouse cursor slowed down a little bit, I need to raise the angle how far I can turn my head. So if you are comfortable with rotating to a higher degree, you should raise these upper sliders. And what it will do, at 37 degrees of head rotation, the mouse cursor will be at your right or left screen edge. The same for the vertical movement. You can also raise this up to where you feel comfortable rotating your head, and then you will see that the mouse cursor slows down a little bit and it gets more precise. If these range sliders are too high for you, if you are not able to have this high amount of rotation, you can also lower these slider bars here. So let's see what happens if I move this up to a fairly high degree. I'm sure I cannot reach that, but just let's see what effect this has. So if I now resume, you can see that I cannot reach the screen edges, although I'm rotating pretty far to the left and to the right. So if this happens in the absolute mode, you know that you need to adjust these boundary sliders here. So with recenter and these boundary sliders, you have all the adjustments you need for the absolute mode. You can also smooth out the mouse cursor movement by smoothing the signal. So if you raise these sliders here for the rotational signals, you will notice that the mouse cursor gets much more stable. So again, this is for smoothing out the signal, and this is for the head rotation boundaries. So that's already it for the absolute mode. Let's go on to the next one. So let's continue with the next mouse mode. The next mouse mode is called mouse relative mode. So we activate it here on the left side, and let's check it out what it does. So as you can see on the first notice, it feels quite the same as the absolute mode. But in a difference to the absolute mode, the relative mode doesn't know a center position. So whenever you push against the screen edge, the mouse center position will be different from before. So let's see how that looks when I push now against the screen edge and return my head to the center. You can see I'm fairly off. You can use this effect to recenter your mouse cursor, and you just have to try it a few times. Might be difficult in the beginning, but you will get the hang of it. So let's pause it again. And for the relative mode, we can also adjust the smoothing of the signals here in the signal monitor. So whenever you feel that your mouse cursor is too nervous, you can also heighten the smoothing level, and it will also calm down the mouse cursor movement. So what else have we got for the mouse relative mode? So the mouse cursor speed is mainly controlled by these sliders here. If you feel that your mouse cursor is moving too fast, just lower it here, and if you want more speed, then you can raise these bars. So the next setting we have in the relative mode is called acceleration. Acceleration helps you to move your mouse cursor further while moving your head at higher speeds. So to enable the mouse acceleration, enable this button here, and you will see that two slider bars come to life. So the first slider bar controls the acceleration curve. So if you want a fairly linear acceleration, move it all the way down, and if you want it to be more exponential, you can move it up. So for the start, I will leave this down here. And the next slider we have is called the sensitivity slider. The sensitivity controls how fast you have to move your head to take full effect of the acceleration curve. So if you move your head fairly slow, you have to heighten the sensitivity slider all the way up here. And if you are fairly quick with your head movements, you have to lower this slider here. So for me, I will leave this here, and the acceleration especially helps you if you move your mouse cursor at slow speeds. So if you want to have high precision whilst moving your head fairly slow, and if you want to travel further distances, you use the acceleration effect to travel a further distance with your mouse cursor. So let's see how this effect looks like when I enable the mouse cursor again. So as you can see, my full head rotation only covers a fairly small amount of the screen. But if I want to move my mouse cursor to the screen edges, I can rotate my head fairly fast, and it will boost the mouse cursor speed. So that's what acceleration does. Just play around with the settings, and I'm sure you will get a cool effect out of it. So the last setting we have is called signal to suppress pointer movement. So you can assign a facial expression to block the mouse cursor from moving whilst rotating your head. So let's use the jaw open here for now. And what it does is when I now open my jaw, you can see the mouse cursor will stop moving. So what this does is you can reach any place on the screen while also using a fairly slow mouse pointer speed. For example, if I want to reach the top right edge of my screen, you can see I cannot reach it with my head rotation. So what I can do is I rotate upwards, block the mouse cursor from moving, and then do the rest of the rotation. So this signal to suppress the mouse pointer movement can be compared to lifting up the mouse from your desk, moving it to another location, and then continuing on with the directional movement of the mouse. The continuous mode is the last one of our three mouse modes. You can enable it also here on the left side, and let's see how it looks like. So whenever I move my head now out of the 0 position, you can see that the mouse cursor will start to continuously move in one direction. This gives you a fairly high amount of precision over the mouse cursor. You can also use the continuous mode if you have a fairly low amount of head rotation available. So let's pause it here and let's go to our signal monitor. So if I only have like a few degrees of movement with my head, I can make use of this continuous mode to gain mouse control. So let me lower all these signal boundaries right here. So let's pretend I only have a few degrees of movement and I also want to have mouse cursor control. So let's save this setting, and the next thing you need to do is to tell the KinesicMouse again where your center position of your head is. So let's recenter the KinesicMouse here. And after 3 seconds it will capture your center position. Let me resume, and as you can see, with just a little head movement I can move the mouse cursor wherever I want it to be. So let me pause the mouse cursor again, and let's go to the settings. So the continuous mode can also be adjusted in terms of speed. You can use these sliders here for adjusting the horizontal and the vertical speed of the mouse pointer movement. We also have an acceleration curve in this mode, and you can lower this acceleration here to have a fairly linear speed up, and if you want it to have more an exponential behavior, then you have to raise this slider here. The continuous mode is also one of the few where you can use other signals than the head rotation to control the mouse cursor. So you can go crazy here and assign any signal or facial expression to use it for mouse cursor control. So this concludes our mouse modes tutorial video. I hope you can find a perfect setup for moving your mouse cursor across the screen. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.